Hi, good evening everyone. To be honest, it's truly an honor to be here. I'm not just saying that for the sake of it, but to be with my community, which I call the Tamil community. A room full of entrepreneurs. This is truly a dream come true, personally. The reason why I say that, I have been to many events across different countries, whether it be Gujarati events, Punjabi events, or multi-other national events. And I've always wondered, when will be the day that we as Tamils get together, celebrate entrepreneurship, and recognize the remarkable achievement of our own people. And today, I could see that in Toronto. Thank you ever so much. It's widely recognized that Canada has been a home to largest Tamil community in the world outside of Sri Lanka. And equally, how successful it has been in a short time span. I was trying to find some data on what is our contribution, the Tamil people's contribution to the Canadian economy. We were trying to find some data, but unfortunately the data wasn't available. Some of the data has been gathered by the Tamil Chamber of Commerce quite a while ago. It's quite outdated. But Ilando has kindly helped me, where we sort of came to a conclusion that it's just over 1% of the GDP. It could be more or less, but that's hugely a massive contribution from your part. So well done to all of you, all the Tamils in Canada. And also, how many of us are coming out of college with degrees? It's something that we need to start measuring within our community. And how many Tamils entrepreneurial companies are in Canada? And do we have a structured seed funding for new startups here in Canada for Tamils? It is something that I'm going to talk about the whole evening. Not just the whole evening, for the rest of my career, this is my goal. We want to create a venture capital fund for our people so that we can start our own businesses going forward. Anyway, I'm not going to talk about Lebara and how successful that we have built a brand across different countries and all the contributions that we have made and so forth. Kindly, your President have mentioned. But that's not why I'm here. Why I'm here indeed is to talk about how we can build a sustainable entrepreneurial culture within our Tamil community. As you all know, business is not a common career move for us. I'm not against doctors, engineers, accountants, because we all need them. But if you stand a chance to be heard in the wider world, if you want to make a difference, or if you want to protect our identity and culture, and if you want to be recognized, then the way forward is to invest into technologically innovative, knowledge-based entrepreneurial growth. You may wonder what I mean by that. In my point of view, Tamils are one of the smartest people in the world, and I truly mean that. Of course I'm biased, but I do mean it. Then I compare ourselves with the development of Jewish people, which we quite often talk about, and Israel. There are many differences. Equally, there are many similarities between us and the Jews. They are a nation built up of over 70 different nationalities, different cultures, different languages came together from this country. But the religion. Whereas we share the same culture, language, and we all come from the same country, yet struggling to unite ourselves. I know we are progressing in the right direction, but we need to build our fundamentals. So what are the fundamentals to build an entrepreneurial culture within our community? A vision and a vision, innovation, teamwork, leadership, which quite often we all talk about, a unique outlook on failure, risk, and moreover, seed funding. We need to start investing into technologically innovative startup companies. It's the only proven way to create a sustainable growth and a way forward in building a Tamil future. This should be our core focus, which should become a competitive advantage, because nothing else could give us the leverage going forward. I would insist that all of you, or some of you, to read a book called Startup Nation. Whenever I see Tamil people, I always say that. Please read this book. It's a story of Israel's economical miracle and how did they build their economical growth. Our vision is to create an entrepreneurial culture. Our mission right now is to create a venture capital fund that can invest and encourage new startups in our community. My request to Tamil Chamber of Commerce to start forming a seed fund, or you could call it a crowdfunding, which is very common in the social media arena. I'm sure many of you are aware of that. And be the pillar in building that future for our next generation, or even the current generation. Equally, we need to accept failure. That's what I meant by a different, unique outlook on failure, because business in the first place is a risk. And failing should be accepted, not neglected. Statistically, if you look at startup companies, 1 in 9 companies succeed. But the person who has failed, an entrepreneur who has failed and started again, the success rate is 1 in 5 chances. Meaning they learn their mistakes and improve what they have done in the past and make it a success. It's okay to fail. Culturally, we've been taught not to fail. I still remember, I think I got 84 marks in maths back home. I was so scared to go and tell my mother. How could that be? So it's absolutely okay to fail. At least we all know we tried. We are generally scared to fail, whereas failure should be seen as an immense learning. Learn from our mistakes. The only thing that you need, I always say this, you just need a great memory power so that path to success narrows down. The more mistakes that you make, the path to success narrows down. The only thing is you just got to remember them and ensure that you don't make them again. We hear this again and again from many people, but we tend to make those mistakes, including myself. Another one, teamwork and partnerships. Teamwork, we are quite individualistic as a community. I don't know where it comes from. I haven't grown up in Sri Lanka for that long enough to do the analysis where it came from. Maybe one could tell me later. But teamwork is extremely important. I think one would lead, but you need a team of people who can make you successful. Always employ people who are far more smart, knowledgeable than you are, so that you can succeed along with them as a team. And partnerships are actually, for some people it works, for some people it doesn't. But in my point of view, for me, I have had great partners, Leo and Karen. I don't think I would have ever done anything that I have achieved now without both of them. There's an example that was given to me by one of my friends. I think it was taken from Quran. Partnership is like like two doves, their legs tied together and trying to fly to the same destination. But can't do it because both the doves are going to try and fly in their own way. So if they want to reach their destination, one of those doves to be dead is the solution. What I mean by death in that scenario is your ego and pride. If you can let go of your ego and pride in partnership, it works. So that the other dove can take you to the destination and both of you will get there. And it's very, very important for those who are in partnership and struggle quite often to make those partnerships work. Leadership. I mean, as many of you know, nobody was born as leaders in my point of view, but we, as a community, particularly not known for leadership. I don't know how many of you agree with me, but that's my personal perspective. I think we should encourage that. We should encourage the next generation to lead. Without leadership, we won't be able to create anything that's sustainable. You always want, there's no such thing as shortcuts in life. I always insist, we want to create sustainable businesses going forward. There's a word in Hebrew, which is, in the book they quite often talk about in Startup Nation, called chutzpah. Chutzpah, in English, there isn't a word in English, but more or less, it's confidence, it's courage, it's audacity. And I was trying to find a word in Tamil that we can address this word. To be honest, I couldn't. But my understanding of chutzpah is timid in a way, but in a positive sense. What is the Tamil word for positive? Does anybody know? Anyway. We are in Canada after all. There's another word. Forgive me for saying this. I know that you are recording it. Please edit this. There's a word that we quite often use, but in the most negative connotation, which is tadipu. Yeah? If we can spin that word in a positive way, that more or less addresses chutzpah in my point of view. We don't just go down that easily as a community. It comes in our culture. We were born with spirit and we will die with that spirit. That's how we are. Otherwise, imagine we left our countries, we come to a destination, half of us probably wouldn't have even heard of all these cities while we were living there. But we come here, make a living for ourselves, bring our families, and build, look at this, around this room. And that's chutzpah. And that is something that we need to start cherishing within our community. It's okay to have that positive attitude. I know. Sometimes these things got to be said by somebody and let that be me. Another thing. There's four things that I want to address mainly. Maybe I'm running out of time. One is seed funding, like I spoke about. Second is scale. Scale is very, very important. Many of the businesses that I see in Canada or in North America, they don't see outside Canada for some reason. I don't understand that. Maybe because you are sort of far away from other continents that you don't want to expand. I think more and more we need to create businesses that there shouldn't be a geographical boundaries. We should create brands, known household brands. Why are we just talking about Facebook and WhatsApp and Viber? When did Viber start? I know the family. When did they start? Quite a lot of you use those services. Why can't we create those services? Why are we limited by geography, by our thinking? Our thought process should be think big, think global. Think, why can't we create these brands that, becomes a household name everywhere in the world? That's my goal. For Lebara, that's a goal I have set up where should not be limited by geography, but unless it is due to regulatory constraints. It's so important. Think outside the box. I mean, literally think outside the box and think outside Canada. Third one, encourage women in our community to be entrepreneurs. I know. I did it purposely. No. What I mean by this, one of my friends mentioned earlier, women are generally entrepreneurs in the first place. They leave their home, leave their mom, dad, brothers, and go, get married to somebody, move into their house, choose somebody else's surname, and then, managing all the finances at home. So post control is no-brainer for the women. But not only that, whenever we talk about entrepreneurs, for some reason, people just think that it's only applicable for men. That's absolutely not true. Anybody who has an idea, anybody who has a chutzpah, should proceed or should progress in your thought process. You shouldn't be limited. And that's something that we as individuals within the business community, we should encourage women to participate in business. You can't just go home and tell your wife, she's not going to understand. That's how we have kept women in our culture. I don't know in Canada, but generally that's how I have seen it. But that should be broken going forward. Fourth, this is an important point. When somebody wants funding, there's two scenarios are happening within our community. This is something that I'm seeing. One is, this is a major problem, by the way. Everyone wants to own 100% of your company. Let me tell you something. 100% of nothing is absolutely nothing. 1% of something is something. It's a big thing. So, when you create companies, when you want funding, it's okay to give away the equity. It's absolutely okay to have an external investor coming on board. Not only they give you money, they share experiences, they advise you, they open doors for you, they have immense network. The guy just didn't, whoever invested in your company didn't just make money by sitting at home. So why don't you tap into that knowledge? It's very, very important. You don't have to own 100% of the business. You can look at any big businesses. Nobody owns it 100%. Whether it's Facebook, you can talk about it. And that's something that we have to start, open our minds and accept external funding if you want to grow and if you want to have a scale. So my dream would be to create a funding circle or a BC organization through Tamil Chamber of Commerce with your help, and not only in Canada, in Europe, which is something that I will personally run, which I call it the entrepreneurial way, and also in Australia. And in 2015, September, I want to bring in all these three organizations, so part of the world where Tamil communities are, have an event in London so that you can network between yourselves, and in the future, if you want to expand, you have somebody from your community in Canada, in Europe, wherever that you want to expand into. Not only that, it's very important that we learn to coordinate and communicate between ourselves. It's really, really important. Finally, give back to the community. People earn money, you want to have nice houses, nice cars, there's nothing wrong with it. But do give back. There's so many refugees. Our refugees are in South India. Whenever you go for Samati Road shopping and all that to India or Arangeta shopping, do go and visit the refugee camps and see our own people, how they are. By the way, I'm not saying this, I have no political motivation, by the way. So whenever these things goes onto YouTube, please don't get me wrong. I purely want to be part of my community and help my community. We generally are a generous people, but lack coordination and leadership, which is something that I'm sure in the coming years that we will we will work on. It's my sheer belief, before we know, the other communities will aspire to be like us, just like we are talking about Israel and the people of Israel. I hope soon that other communities will look at the Tamil communities and say, we want to be like them, and this is how they have built up. Last, it's somebody sent this to me. I want to read it out. Those who are skilled in combat do not become angered. Those who are skilled at winning do not become afraid. Thus the wise win before the fight, while the ignorant fight to win. So you choose whether you are ignorant or the skilled. I leave you with that. Thank you ever so much for inviting me and allowing me